Hello, everybody. Dimple here again, welcoming you all to today's session on Android Framework Components. Previous session, I have explained what is the BLE protocol stack and also the concept of GAP. Today, we will see what is GATT, that is Generic Attribute Profile. This is very confusing topic because it includes all these services, characteristics, profile. It's really confusing, and in a one go it's very difficult to understand. So I just thought of taking up this topic and explaining with multiple examples, so you will definitely be clear on these concepts called services, characteristics, and profiles. Finally, the GATT server. So let's get started. GATT is nothing but a generic attribute profile. It's basically concerned with data exchange in BLE. Therefore, it is the topmost data layer in Bluetooth Low Energy. GATT uses ATT protocol for transfer of data. So this ATT protocol is used by GATT. So ATT is nothing but attribute profile again. It's basically used to exchange the characteristics or the attributes defined in the GATT server. ATT is used to store the services, characteristics, and the related data, which are called attributes, in a simple lookup table using 16-bit IDs for each entry. So the main concept when it comes to GATT server is about this, how this characteristics and the services are stored. So all these are stored in a lookup table, that is nothing but ATT. So GATT basically make use of this attribute profile. So in my next slide, I'll be showing y'all a picture so y'all understand more. This is the GATT server. Okay, so this GATT server will in turn contain profiles. What is a profile? I have already explained in my previous session. So generic access profile. Profile is nothing but it defines how protocol is used to communicate between two devices. So gap is there, no generic access profile. It's responsible for the connection setup. Whereas this GATT, generic attribute profile, it's basically dealing with the data exchange. So both connection setup and data exchange, these are the major trivial things when it comes to any BLE or Bluetooth concepts, right? So gap is dealing with all the connection setup and GATT is doing with all the data exchange. So this is the GATT server. GATT server will contain profile, profiles will contain services, and this services in turn will contain characteristics. It's like a subset. Okay, so this is the how the ATT lookup data table looks like. And let me show you all one more diagram. So I understood, I hope you all understood these concepts. So there is a GATT server. That GATT server will have profiles, profiles will have services, and services will have characteristics. Let me show you all this diagram so it's easy to understand. So y'all can think of this red color box as a profile, and each profile can have multiple services: service 1, service 2, service 3, and each service will have its own characteristics: character 1, character 2, character 3, like that. I hope y'all are getting some idea. So this service has UUID. Everything has to have some UUID which uniquely identifies that service, right? We all have our own names which uniquely identify us, which differentiates us from different persons. Similarly, when it comes to profile, every service will have UUID which distinguishes itself from other services. This UUID can be 16-bit or it can be 128-bit. So when it is 16-bit, it's basically official UUID. It's used for official purposes. When you customize it, it will become 128-bit. So whenever UUID is 128-bit, it is a customized UUID, and 16-bit UUID will be official ones. That was the services. Next, we'll see characteristics. So characteristic is nothing but it's the lowest level concept in GATT, and this characteristic encapsulates single data point or value. It contains single value. uh, it can also hold array of data. For example, when you tell um, for example, when you tell accelerometer, it has x y z axis. So all this x y z axis data will be contained in this characteristic. Similar to service, it has its own UUID again. So 16-bit, if the UUID of the characteristics is 16-bit, it's official UUID. If it is 128-bit, again it's custom UUID. So you all might think, why so many confusions, why there are profiles and again services within those profiles, characteristics within those services. So all this is designed to make sure everything is in a standard location, to make sure data is organized, it is easy to access, and also this standard format allows client to access what it needs from the server. So that's the main advantage of all this profile services characteristics. Everything is easy for access, everything is organized, so that client whatever it needs, it can take it from the server. So here is a pictorial diagram. Here I have shown this to explain the concept of profile services as well as characteristics in detail. So here is a classroom. Classroom you can locate or imagine as a GATT server, and the column, every column you can think as a profiles. Okay, so the entire classroom is the server. This server will contain profiles, so each column is a profile, and each student you can assume as a service. Each because the profile can contain multiple services. Here this profile is containing three services, and each student is nothing but a service, and each personality is a character. For example, this boy, he may have a different personality. He may have a different, you can distinguish him from his height, weight, name, character. So that character is nothing but personality. I hope you all understood. Student may be a service, but that student have their own characteristics that defines him uniquely. So that characteristic, that is nothing but characteristic. So I hope you all got some idea about this profile service and characteristics. Let me give you all one more example. I have taken here the example of GATT client and GATT server. So usually the one that receives information will act as a client, and one that passes information or generates and produces that information will act like a server. So here my GAT client is nothing but my mobile phone, and my heart rate monitor is acting like a GAT server, because the heart rate monitor is sending data or it is sharing data with my client. This is acting as a server. So this heart rate profile is the GATT server. It has multiple services. Okay. So this heart rate profile, this is the profile, and this profile is having two services currently. Heart rate is one service and device information is another service. So under heart rate I can have multiple characteristics like heart rate measurement or body sensor location. These are the characteristics. So this is the profile, these two are the services, and these are the characteristics. Device information, any number of characteristics it can have, the version, the Android version, all those things. Okay, another example if I need to give, let me take this another example. Environment sensing service, for example, that the sensor which basically takes all the temperature information from the environment, it is having some UUID 0 cross 181A. So the different characteristics which can come, for example, are pressure, temperature, humidity. So when I take a sensor, this sensor can provide different data, right? Pressure, temperature, humidity, these have their own UUIDs. You all can see in the brackets, they have their own UUIDs. All these are nothing but different characters. This is one more example I wanted to give. So if we take battery service, we can again get different battery level characteristics. So I hope you all understood, and I hope you all are clear now what is characteristic, service, and profile, and all put together how it forms GATT server. So that's why I did all these different multiple examples, because it's little confusing topic here. Next, we will see what are the different operations associated with this characteristics. So there are six types of operations associated with the characteristics. The first one is command. So client command means client will send these commands to the server and they do not require any response. Just like that they send. Request means client will again send to server and again they do not need any response. Okay. Then response, this is again one of the operations which are performed. The response is sent from the server to the client. And notification is the fourth type of command, and notification is sent from the server to client. Why this notification is sent? Basically to let know there is change in particular characteristics. Whenever there is change in characteristics, for example temperature, if server change some temperature characteristic, client is notified. And the fifth type of command is indication. It is basically sent from the server to the client. Again, it's to acknowledge to service that indication is received. Okay. The final one is confirmation. Yeah, whenever the indication is successfully received, that time confirmation is sent. It can be from server to client or client to server. So these are the standard six operations which are exchanged between the client and the server. So I hope you all understood what is the BLE protocol stack, the gap concepts, and GATT, the GATT server, the characteristic services, all these concepts. I'll see you all soon in my next session with another interesting topic. Until then, everyone, take care. Please stay tuned. Bye bye.